Hello. So today we're going to be analyzing my fifth round of a classical tournament I played like a month ago. This is round five, and if I remember correctly, I lost the round four. So finally, another tournament recap. My opponent is unrated. I didn't know that during the game, but I'm pretty sure all my opponents here were unrated in this tournament. So let's start the game. Here we get the English opening with c4. Now against the English, I'm gonna play e6. Now the idea of this is I'm not showing my card yet. So they have a couple of options here. They can go into e4. They can go into d4. They can go into knight to c3. There's a lot of moves basically, and the main one is e4. This one transposed into a French. d4 is another one, and here they go for g3 following their English setup. I go for f5, and here I'm playing a Dutch defense against the English. They go for bishop to g2, knight to f6, and here they go for knight to c3. Now, against this setup with the bishop going to g2, I like to play the Dutch stonewall defense with d5. They go d4, and now it's transposing into what's somewhat of a queen's gambit opening. I go for c6, they go for knight to f3, and here I go for bishop to d6. And it transposed like three different times into some triangle setup or something. They go for c takes, and here I go for e takes d5, which is following my setup. They go for castles, and I go for castles. They go for bishop to g5 with an idea of taking the knight and then playing e3. So I go h6, they go bishop takes, I go queen takes, and here they go for e3. Now, yes, even though I have the bishop pair, it's still not better for me because first of all, this bishop's limited by these kingside pawns, right? The bishop can only really play on this side of the board. Second of all, this bishop sucks. The bishop on c8. It would love to go to the h5 square or fianchetto or take the long diagonal on a6. There are a couple of options. One is b6, bishop goes to b7. The other is b6 and then bishop a6 instead. And the other is this long maneuver of bishop to e6 or bishop to d7, and then the bishop drops back and then goes to h5. So those are my options for my light squared bishop. I decided to take b6, and after a3, I decided to take the long diagonal with bishop to a6. Now there is one key downside with this move, and it's that in the future, these pawns are going to be really weak. So if I ever develop the knight, like let's play a waiting move, like I was worried about this queen to a4 move, and the oh wait, forgot about the rook there. Queen to a4 move, and I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna lose a pawn here, or I'd have to drop back to b8. Because if I go for bishop to b7, then there's this move knight takes d5, and if I take, then they just take, and I'm worse. So that's the key downside for this move. It's that the knight, it will have a pretty hard time of developing. Here I go for rook to e8, because their idea with rook to e1 is to maybe push for e4 in the future, so I just over defended with rook to e8. They go for b4, and here I go for b5. Now b5 closes off the queen side, so I don't really know if I'm better here. Actually, at the time of this game, I thought I was worse because this bishop isn't doing anything. You know, it's gonna be a really long time before this bishop is active, and this bishop isn't really doing anything. So we get knight to e2. Now the idea of knight to e2, I thought, was they wanted to go for knight to f4 things, but as you'll see in the game, after knight to d7, their plan was to go knight to c1. So they're taking a different route. The idea is to either jump to b3 or to d3 and take some of these juicy squares over here, and I can't really stop that, so I just follow my plan with knight to d7, knight to b6, and putting my knight on c4. They go for knight to d3, and here I go for knight to c4. And basically, I'm trying to prevent them from going over the e5 square. I think this is the most important one, the e5 outpost. So I stop it with knight to c4 immediately. They go for knight to c5, and here I decide to give up my bishop pair again with bishop takes c5. They go for b takes c5, And here I go for rook a b8, maybe in the future making a breakthrough over in the queen side. They go for knight to d2, basically saying that if I go here, they're probably... Oh yeah, they just have a take, so I forgot. Rook opens up. So here I just go for bishop to c8. Now the idea of bishop to c8 is to activate it through the h5 d1 diagonal. They go for knight takes, and here I decided to take with the b pawn, and suddenly I have a connected pass pawn. But it's really not clear on how to push this. I didn't think I had an advantage here. I thought this was around better for my opponent, simply because my bishop is just way too passive here. But I didn't really know how to use this advantage of the passed pawn. They go for queen to a4 with an idea of targeting the a7 pawn, and here apparently I missed this during the game. It's a crazy move. Not rook to e7, rook to f8. Rook to f8. I don't know who would think of this move, to be honest. Like, what does rook to f8 do? It hangs the pawn completely. Why? Because after that, there's apparently rook to b2, and you're infiltrating through this rank. It's crazy. I mean, rook to f8, just giving up the pawn with an idea to break through with f4. Crazy. Instead, I decided to play a more natural looking move with rook to e7 to defend the pawn. They go rook a b1, and here I go rook e b7 here, fighting for the open b file. They go for rook takes, and I go for rook takes, simply defending the pawn. They go for queen to c2, blocking this pawn in the future. And here what I had to play was either f4 or rook to b3. I go for bishop to e6. f4 is such a crazy move. f4. Why? Because after takes with this pawn, keep in mind they can't take because then I win this. Oh wait, no, not that. Just bishop to f5 apparently. I thought it was to win this pawn. Queen to e2, and then like what? Rook to b3. We're not even taking the pawn. Okay, interesting. f4, sacrificing the pawn, basically saying that if they take with the g pawn, then the bishop will come to f5, queen to d2, and then here queen to g6. And I pinned this, and even though I'm down a pawn, I have very much a lot of compensation here. For example, I have full control over the b line because of the bishop holding that, and the rook and the queen. Secondly, I have a pin over here, but it's a little too risky as well because king to h1, rook to b1 ideas might be annoying. So I go for bishop to e6, simply following my plan of activating the bishop because I don't know what to do. They go for rook to b1, and here I go for queen to e7. Here they go for bishop to h3 at pressuring the pawn. So I take, and then go queen to d7, holding every single pawn in the position that is weak. They go for check with queen to b8, and here I go for king to f7. And here my evaluation of this at the time was I'm losing because they can try to play for a4, a5, a6, and then queen to b7 things in the future. Additionally, they always have pressure on this pawn. Secondly, my bishop isn't really doing anything. It's actually trapped. And I just didn't know what to do because this pawn could just be easily stopped with stuff like queen to b3. So I didn't really know what to do here. So I just played king to f6, not really knowing what to do. They played a4 before I played king to f6, by the way. And here they go for bishop to f1, pressuring the pawn over here. So I just go for g5, which is already a terrible move according to Engine here, because I'm just pushing pawns here, not really doing anything. I'm just pushing pawns here, not really doing anything. So yeah, I do have plans of f4 and stuff, but I mean, it just loses a pawn over here. They go for a5, and here I go for queen to e7. They go for a6, and here I go for queen to d7. So I played queen to e7. So really, I really don't know what to do over here because it's just not clear what to play as black. And here they just go queen to b7. Here I decided to go f4. Here they went bishop to e2. I go bishop to e5, and they go e4. Idea being that obviously if I take, then I lose the queen, playing the Botez gambit, and I can, just so you know, I can never take the pawn, I mean the queen, because then this pawn becomes queen. So that's why after this, I have to take with the pawn. They take, bishop takes, and suddenly here I am better. But I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was equal, because apparently after bishop to e6, and then the bishop has to go back to e2, f3, and let's say the bishop goes to d1 or something, then the bishop can go to c4, and just look at this position. You're winning this pawn. I wonder what would happen if the bishop drops back. There's just h5. So you're just limiting your opponent's pieces here. Crazy. I didn't spot that. Instead, I played king to f5, pushing the king, because it's the endgame. You gotta activate the king. They go for h3. I go for bishop to e6. They go for g4. I go for king to f6, and here they go bishop to e2. And here, apparently there was bishop to b3. No idea what this move does. f3, e3. Say they go bishop to d3. What is the idea of this move? Oh, maybe it's to go here. I missed that. I played bishop to d5, and here I'm winning again. If I play king to e6, and then after king to e1, I find the correct plan with bishop to b3. I wonder what's the difference between bishop to b3 and bishop to a2. So let's try. Let's try to find f3. Wait, no, not. Oh wait, no. This is f3, and the bishop drops back to f1, and then king to d5. And now the difference is that what? The bishop goes to a4, and then h4, and you can't do anything, because if you ever move the king, and the king takes, and it's a zugzwang, so you have to go here, and then I just take, and you go here, then I just take, and then you can't do anything, you have to drop back, and this is completely winning. Wow. Instead I play bishop to a2 and then go here, but that gives them this square over here on the c3. And now the difference is that now when I play this, the king's not on e3. They go for bishop to f1, but it's not so easy how you win this, because if you move the bishop from this diagonal, then you get mated. That's crazy, right? It's a checkmate. So you have to play king to e6 to get out of that threat, just so I can freely move the bishop. I decided to put it on d5, and this is just a draw. Like, yeah, the bishop might not be able to move anywhere, but it's just a clear draw. There's nothing you can do to win this. And here, after king to d2, I offered a draw to my opponent, and he accepted the draw offer. So now I have a solid 2.5 out of 5. So definitely a lot of misses. Like I could have played f3 somewhere. Was it here? Oh, it was here. f3. Oh, no. Oh, wait, where did I play f3? Bishop to e6 first, bishop to e2, and then f3, basically limiting the opponent's pieces. Bishop goes to d1, or bishop to c4, and what's happening here is that everything is fixed. So that's a crazy variation. And what happens if the bishop goes to a4? Then there's bishop to b5, takes. And I am in time to stop the pawn. Yes, you can go d5 check with an idea that if I take, you promote, but I just go here, and then king to f1, and then you're not. King to d1, and then I'm going to use my pawns on the king side. Oh, that's a nice one. So definitely nice game. I thought it was worse the entire time, to be honest. So, that is the end of the video, and bye.